What's going on, guys? Big Mikey 717 Outlaw back out here in the garage. We are working on the Busa, so we're getting ready for the track this coming weekend, and it's finally time for me to get around installing the Schnitz Racing shift light with auto shift output. So I haven't, most of you guys know for, oh man, how many years has it been now? I've been running an air shifter, just button shifting nonstop. It's slightly inconsistent, but it does have its consistencies with being able to shift smoothly. But the last race, it cost me the round one because I missed my shift. So I figured now is as good a time as any to start getting into wiring this system up. So let's just go ahead and get into this and see where we go. All right, guys, so first off, going into this, I already started, or at least with routing. So this is the shift light with output. So what this has here on the screen is only 3 numbers. So typically if you wanted to shift at 9.5, it'll show 9.5. If you wanted to shift at 10.2, it'll be 1.02, so on and so forth. You can set it to the 100 RPM range. So for mine, since this is gonna go on the front clip, I just have it routed like this, so it's going to sit directly above my gauges. I went ahead and routed this out with the rest of my harness, and then we ran it in here. So running it in here, yes, I do have a little bit of excess wire. I didn't really want to do a ton of trimming, but coming around to the other side, you can see it's got 4 wires. I did already start with these. So we're going to go ahead and actually use the instructions. So simple, black wire is the negative or a chassis ground. Red is your switched 12 volt source. So that's going to be a basically an ignition source. So whenever you turn the key, that 12 volt source is on. That way the light isn't on constantly with a constant power from a 12 volt battery. The green wire is your tack input. So easy enough for this is I put it right to the coil. So this is the same reading that if I remember right, the wire that I use for my Launchmaster for the 2-step. So we're able to just go ahead and run that wire directly to this, nice and easy. And then the brown wire is the auxiliary ground output. So that is actually what's going to be our auto shift output. So with that, like I said, easy enough. So I have the red and black. Those are going to run back. I'm going to hook them up, one to the bus bar or the fuse bar that I have down here. And then I do have an ignition source, which is on the other side, which is actually the tail light. So I'm just going to splice the wire right into that and keep the wiring in the back. Don't worry, this will get cleaned up. But the other part that we had to do for this is Schnitz, they have this relay. So this is the auto shift relay. It's pretty self-explanatory whenever I go about it. So this just gets your battery source. So I'll probably run this the same way that I run this wire here off of the light itself. Brown wire goes right to the brown wire, easy enough. Now the blue one, which I do have excess wire, which is actually from my shifter, is this wire. Focus, maybe. Anyway, this wire is going to go to the shifter solenoid, which my solenoid is tucked right there on the wall. You can see the air line coming in. So we're gonna actually run this into that wire. If not, I can route it to where it is. This is actually the clutch wire for the 2-step. But this loop here, if I'm not mistaken, is where my blue wire for the shifter is. So we're gonna go ahead, run that up here. And then that basically, once the signal from the shifter is put out, this will automatically trigger the shifter solenoid and allow the bike to shift. So honestly, Schnitz Racing, this stuff's always been nice and simple. A good bit later, just because I was trying to make everything as clean as humanly possible. We have the wiring run. We're gonna go ahead, turn the ignition on and test everything. I'll show you guys how I routed it, and yeah, we'll go from there. All right, so from the shift light itself, goes all the way out. It's that gray wire right here. Have it following down through. So this is the tach sensor, that splits off, follows around through here, come into here. So then all we had to hook up to out of this, again, this is the, yeah, what do I want to call it? The output relay. All we need to hook up, we hooked up the brown wire. It's hooked up back in here and it's within this sheathing. Went ahead, just zip tied this in here. It kind of, probably not the cleanest way, but it keeps it right where I need it to be. It's out of the way, it's not gonna hurt anything. Still have to hook up the actual shift solenoid. But anyway, we have everything hooked up. I'm gonna go ahead, routed this all the way back through. 2 little white coatings. So this is my negative. Goes right into a good ground that I have tucked down in here. And then coming in on this side, we went ahead, just used a splice connector, and this was the 12-volt source, which actually used to be for my, what do I want to call it? The license plate light. So let's go ahead, give her a shot. All right, so she is working. That means that I can go ahead, try to get her cleaned up just a little bit. I'll probably go ahead, we'll drill the hole in the fairing, which the spot that we are gonna drill is gonna be just a hole right here. Probably gonna go back a little bit more towards where the front, yeah, what do I wanna say? Try to run it where the tip of this comes in. If I can do this one-handed. So when that's in there, we just want the shift light just underneath all my tech stickers. So I drilled a 7/8 inch hole here. Originally I had thought just the diameter of this, but you have to think those buttons stick out just enough. So 7/8 is actually just, to me, it's just the right size to fit. I don't know if you could go with a 13/16, if that would be a little bit better, but I just figured give myself some room. But the light will sit right in here. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the other part of the light, which is actually gonna be, they give you these little kind of look like tube holders or some kind of pipe holder or something. Pretty sure it's this one here that we want to go with. So we're going to go ahead. I think I still have to drill a hole, but let's see. Yep, so she'll snap on to the light. I think all I have to do is just bolt it right there to the top. The light should be out of my way for steering and everything like that, and it'll be just above all of my stuff. So we're gonna go ahead, drill a small hole. All right, we got the low pro bracket, which I actually looked at that. That's, what I wanna say, 3D printed, so that's actually pretty cool from Schnitz. But go ahead. Yep, that's better. All right, so the light fits. All I gotta do, hook up the blue wire, which if I remember right, I have to go to a wire right here in this little section of harness, and everything should be ready to roll. Blue wire, we have it run through our coating here, added another blue extension, and then this runs into, so this is the horn kind of toggle that this bike has on it. So whenever I had it as a street bike, I can flip between horn and air shifter. But we have that hooked up. We're gonna go ahead, fire the bike up and try to see if it works. I'm gonna go ahead and try to set the RPM for something low, and at least just hear for that kind of stutter like I'm pressing the button. and see what happens. All right, well, there's our, let me pull this off here so you guys can see it in the right configuration. So that is our, just to do the tests, we're gonna go down. So that should be 3,000 RPM. So let's go ahead and try to give this a shot. I'm hoping that came through, but I had the shift set at 2,000 or 3,000 RPM. You notice that the RPMs got to about 3. The tack on these bikes do not read true. So what this is picking its signal up off of is the actual coil. So you notice that when it got like around that 3,000 mark, it was actually like it blipped just a little bit. You could hear like a slight stutter. That's it trying to activate the engine kill on the kill box. So for me, the test is good. I'm gonna go ahead and set the shifter up for my actual shift RPM, which I think is gonna be around 10.5. And yeah, we should be ready to go for this weekend. I'm actually loading the trailer up tonight. And we have Beaver Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We were gonna stay up there for Monday, but I only went to one SBRA race, and that's what Monday's points race is. Not really that worried about it. I'm not going to the finals there this year. So I'm just going to be worried about WDRA, which I've already made a little bit of headway in that point series. So I'm going to stick with it. And that's pretty much what we're going to do. So hopefully you guys stuck through with this video. It's a very, very easy setup. So I have nothing against Schnitz Racing. This is a very nice and simple way to do this if you have an auto shift. I mean, MPS does make an auto shift kill box, but whenever I went to look it up, I couldn't find it. So I'm not 100% sure if they labeled it something different or if they just switched to a different setup now. But I couldn't find it, so I just stuck with going with the shift light. Plus, for me, it kind of helps because the shift light or the stock shift light on the Busas is like on the bottom of the gauge cluster. Like that's the original shift light. So I mean, up here, to me, that's a lot better. So I'd rather have the shift light there to where I can actually see it. But also with this having the auto shift output, one, it's a visual for you, but also the fact that this takes a lot of factors out. Now, the big thing too with the way that this is set up is I can still use the button. So if it doesn't shift for whatever reason, if I just keep my finger hovered on the button, if I need to, I can go ahead, hit that button, and it'll shift for me, or at least it'll shift just like it always has. But yeah, pretty self-explanatory. That little RSR plug that we have over here makes everything nice and simple. The only, like I said, the only minor pet peeve that I have with it is the gauge of wire is so small. Like I thought that the wire would have been like this to where everything's relatively heavy, but it was, it's very thin. So, I mean, you just got to watch when you're soldering or doing any kind of connectors. Make sure that you have a good connection. I use the shrink solder connectors, and then I put heat shrink over top of it just for extra protection. But other than that, I think we're good to go. Oh, come on, camera. And I think we're going to go ahead and get the bike on the trailer and ready for another weekend of racing up at the Beaver. So as always, guys, I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you know anything more about the channel, more about the bikes, if you want to know anything more about this shift light with auto output, go ahead and check the description down below. I'm going to put a link to their to Schnitz Racing's website, which there's always been a link down below for their website, but I'm going to put a link specifically for this part, and you guys can go check it out. I'll put 2 links. So there's going to be one for the light itself and then one for the auto relay, which is that little plug that's that has the 4 wires coming out of it. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and call it a night here at the shop. get the trailer loaded up so we can get ready for racing this weekend. As always, guys, like I said, hope you liked the video. Drop a comment, drop a like, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next. Remember, ride safe, ride smart, always your helmet. See you.